Hi there, and welcome to my silly little crafty adventure. Today is a new kind of video for me. I'm going to be doing a free free knitting tutorial. And it is for this headband. I have been wanting more headbands to hold my hair back because I'm currently in lab for school right now, and I always want to have my hair back when I'm in lab, but I don't always like putting it up. So I wanted to make a headband, but when I looked up crochet headband patterns, most of the ones you see are for those really thick ones that come and cover your ears in the winter, like ear warmers. And I just wanted like a thin one that I could wear like a headband. And I thought to myself, well, Hannah, there are ways you could do that with like a crochet chain. There are ways you could do that with like a single row of single crochets or like foundation single crochets. But what's the best way to make like a thin cord? Because I kind of wanted to do like a braid, if you can't tell. It's a 5-strand braid. And I thought to myself, we need to learn how to knit an I-cord. So that is what I did. And today I will be showing you how to make this headband for yourself. Very beginner friendly. I'm personally not very profesh at knitting. I'm getting there though. I want to be there. But it's just going to be a quick little tutorial about how to make your own headband, your own knitted I-cord 5-strand braid headband. There you go. Stay tuned. All right, so first things first, you're going to need to gather your supplies. You're going to need scissors. You're going to need yarn, obviously. I used medium weight yarn, like weight 4 worsted or Aran weight yarn. I used acrylic because it has a better stretch to it than cotton. And either circular or double pointed knitting needles. I used circular, and I used in the size 5.5 millimeters. You're also going to need yarn needle. Mine's just back in the bag there. And I found it helpful to have a contrasting color of yarn, and I will explain why during the tutorial. All right, so step 1 of this process is going to be to cast on. So to do this, you're going to start with a slip knot. So when I make slip knots, I lay it in kind of an upside down U. And the top, you're going to make a loop, and then you are going to grab the tail end of the yarn through the loop and pull. That's going to create your slip knot. You need to grab your needles, and you're just going to slip the slip knot onto the needles and pull it snug, not too tight. Next, you are going to grab the yarn with your pinky and ring finger, and then split those 2 strands with your pointer finger and thumb. You are going to grab the front yarn, go under it, and then grab the yarn at your pointer finger and pull through. And you're going to do that one more time for a total of 3 stitches casted on. I split my yarn there. It's my bad. There are a lot of YouTube videos that show more in-depth tutorials for casting on and even things like slip knots and knit stitches. So I'm just going to briefly go over everything, but if you need more details, definitely take a look at some other videos. All right, now you're going to be setting yourself up to knit your first row. So to do this, the important thing to see here is that the working yarn is on the point end of the needle. It actually, for an I-cord, needs to always be on the opposite end of the needle. That's why you need your circulars or your DPNs. You're going to slide your working piece to the other end so the working yarn is coming off of the back or end of the needle. Now you're about ready to start knitting your first row. I'll do a quick explanation of a knit stitch here. I did in fact struggle because my slip knot was too tight. But ignoring that, you're going to insert the needle in the front of the first loop, as I did here. You only go through the front loop, as I show you there, not both. And then you're going to grab the working yarn from the back, pull it out the front, and pull that whole loop off of the needle. You're going to continue the same process for every stitch from here on out. You're going to be knitting every stitch in this project. So again, you put your needle through the front of the loop, grab the working yarn in the back, and bring it up and off. Put your needle through the front, grab the working yarn in the back, and up and off. As you see here, I'm working over the tail, which is fine. And then, as you can see, the problem is now that the working yarn is on the point end of the needle once again. So you're going to need to move your project back over to the other side between every single row to always keep the working yarn on the back side of the needle. Now you're going to repeat the same process of knitting all of the stitches in this row. Once again, you are going to slide your project to the opposite end of your needles so that the working yarn is furthest from the point of the needle, and you are going to knit your row again. All right, so the next step, and don't mind the house coat, I'm just a frigid gal, is that you are going to continue knitting 3 each row and then switching your work to the other side of the needles until your I-cord wraps comfortably but snugly around your head. You shouldn't have to pull it super tight. When you get to the end and you're at that length, what you're going to do is leave a few rows worth of yarn on, because you may braid up your I-cords and find you wish you had another inch onto your braid to be the right length for your head. It's hard to tell though how it'll be when braided because you lose some length on each cord. So, all that said, leave some length, and then I take a contrasting color of yarn and I tie a little loop up with my last 3 threads I did not bind off. And that way, if I need to knit another 2 or 3 rows, I can just pick up the stitches, knit a few more, and then bind off. So once you finish this, you are going to do 4 more until you have 5 total. Now you can start the process of braiding. So let me show you what to do for that. All right, so to begin the process of braiding, I have an H crochet hook here. You don't need any specific size, just have it match your yarn well. And hold on, let me find the end. That took a really long time to untangle because my cat got into it, but here we are. So you're going to put a slip knot on your hook, and then you are going to take the starting ends of each of your I-cords and put 1 single crochet into each. So I always put the tail in so I can crochet it in, although you will have to do some sewing later if you want the ends to look neat. But there's my first, here's my second cord, just trying to find a good spot for it. Okay. You don't have to do this tight or anything. It's just to start connecting them. My current show is still MasterChef. Sorry, not sorry. I'm a cooking show gal. I'm on season 2 now. It decided to start at the beginning because when I went to go start at the end, it was like a it was a season where they brought back the favorites from every other season. So I was like, oh, well, I can't start there, so I may as well start at the end. Or the beginning, rather. Okay, I'm on my 4th. This is a whole mess. It's just all the ends. I'll sew them in a minute. Here's my last one. And good. Okay. So I have all of my 5 cords connected in a line, and I'm sure you can guess what's coming next. We are going to braid them. Personally, first, I am going to tie off, and I am going to sew in these ends just to have this side all finished and neat and ready to go. So I'll meet you back in a moment. That took a really long time to untangle because my cat got into it, but here we are. So you're going to put a slip knot on your hook, and then you are going to take the starting ends of each of your I-cords and put 1 single crochet into each. So I always put the tail in so I can crochet it in, although you will have to do some sewing later if you want the ends to look neat. But there's my first, here's my second cord. Okay, I'm on my 4th. This is a whole mess. It's just all the ends. I'll sew them in a minute. Here's my last one. So I have all of my 5 cords connected in a line, and I'm sure you can guess what's coming next. We are going to braid them. Personally, first, I am going to tie off, and I am going to sew in these ends just to have this side all finished and neat and ready to go. So I'll meet you back in a moment. All right, so now I have my one end of my braid, and that goes all the way down to our unfinished ends. So now we are going to start the process of actually braiding the 5 strands together. All right, so I'm just going to show you how to do a 5-strand braid. So lay out all your strands flat, separate them as best you can, and I'm gonna walk you through the steps. You take the far left one and put it over one and under one. So it is now the new middle strand. Along the way, you should pull these strands tight and make sure they're laying flat. You do the same with the far right. You put it over one and under one, so it's now the new middle strand. Back to left, over one, under one, now the new middle strand. On the right side, you'll do over one and under one, so it is the new middle strand. You're going to continue in this way down the braid by alternating from the far left, going over one and under one, to the far right, going over one and under one. Continue trying to make sure your strands are taut and flat, but don't tighten them too much or your braid will bubble. And just try and keep it as neat as possible. So at this point, I've reached the end of my braid and I need more length on my braid. I wrapped it around my head. It's coming up a bit short. So this is where our extra yarn comes into play. So a helpful thing to do at this point is to grab a hair tie, wrap it around the end of your braid so it doesn't come undone. When I wrapped it around my head, I could do with another inch or so. So one by one, I'm going to snip the holders, knit a few more rows, and then bind off for good. So that is what I'm going to do, and I will meet back with you after that. So at this point, if your headband is too long, you can go and unravel however many you need and then bind off, or go through and knit a few more rows. If your headband is coming up way short, don't panic, because just like we did at the front end, we will be doing a line of single crochets to attach them all together. And at that point, if you need to do a few extra rows of single crochets before the two ends meet up, that's fine if that's what it takes to fit you, because that'll be in the back. I knitted the rest of my ends, and then I bound off and I sewed in the ends. So now I'm ready to essentially finish. So I am going to get my crochet hook again, and I'm going to get my yarn again. And you have the end of your braid here, and this part is a little bit fiddly because you have to try and keep the braid while you crochet, again, one single crochet in each across. So I just try and lay it as flat as I can so I see the order of all 5, and I'm just going to go one by one and put one single crochet in each, which kind of seals in its position in the braid. And there we go. So I have this end sealed and this end sealed. You can see that this end gets wide, it's a lot looser, but we are going to fix that. So I'm going to cut off my end. I'm going to weave this in all my tails here, and then I will show you the last step. All right, so now that we're at the end here, hold on, straight end. I'm just going to kind of, oh, that was embarrassing. I'm just gonna move the tension around and kind of like fluff up the braid evenly across. All right, that's pretty good. So now that we're at the end and that I know, because of my few extra rows, it's the right size for my head. My preference is to single crochet things together, but of course you can always sew things together. So I'm going to take the two ends and I'm going to make 5 single crochets across to connect both ends, weave that in, and then you are done. All right, and now as you can see, your braided knitted I-cord headband is finished, hopefully. This was really fun to do a tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked making it. I hope it turned out well. Let me know if you want me to try and think of some more tutorials to do, just some simple things. If you're interested in any more of my actual patterns, those would be sold on Etsy, but on the shop name is MadebyHannahEm, Ravelry, HandmadebyHannahEm, or ribblr, HandmadebyHannahEm. So definitely check that out if you're interested. I hope you liked today's video, and yeah, have a great day.